This conference will now be recorded.
So I want to welcome you to part one of the digestive system. Part two will be next week. And today we're just going to learn the main parts of the digestive system, how it works, some of the key things that are important for optimum digestion. And in our next seminar, we'll really start to tackle some of the diseases that happen in the digestive system. And I want you to know that as a nutritionist, I don't believe in tons of supplements. Of course, supplements are good for speedy healing for a short period of time, but the truth is your body and my body was designed to heal itself. So I just want to start the session with you starting to really realize and think about how important the digestive system is. Because whether you come to see me with diabetes, cancer, sleep disorders, food is going to be your medicine. I'm going to design a plan for you that has specific elements of food that are customized for your healing. And if your digestive system is off, it's going to be very difficult to help you heal. And in fact of saying food is your medicine, sometimes the lack of food is your medicine, because fasting and giving the body a break of digestion is also extremely healing for the body. So the other thing I want to sort of preface before we get into the seminar is that I want you to understand that we all need to understand that the digestive system and the energy that is required to make the digestive system function requires the most energy than any other function in the human body. The circulatory system, the respiratory system, the endocrine system, nothing else requires the amount of energy that the digestive system requires. So how important is it, when you think about that you are actually eating in the right rhythm, that you're giving your body foods that are not difficult to digest? And how important is it as well that we are not constantly burdening our digestive system? And it is also important that we also give our digestive system a break sometimes. Because when you can free the digestive system of the energy that is robbing us sometimes, that natural good energy, you know, it's amazing. The body can use its energy to heal. But let's first get started and understand, how does this digestive system work? And again, we've had a few people just recently join us, so I just want to encourage you also to put all of your questions in the chat as I go, and I will be able to answer them as quickly as possible at the end of the session. And we shouldn't be long. It'll definitely be less than an hour. And so I'm going to get right into the digestive system. The digestive system, part one. We will be doing part two next week. But I just want you to know, I want you to know very simply that the digestive system, or the GI tract, as it's also commonly known as, is made up, it's basically a series of like hollow organs that are joined together in this tube that goes from the mouth right to the anus. And that's what the GI tract is. Now, there are a couple, scientifically speaking, there are a couple. I'm just going to ask all callers, please, to make sure that you're on mute. A couple solid organs that are also part of this, and so part of your digestive system. So we're talking about the liver, the pancreas, and also the gallbladder. They're called the solid organs of the digestive system. And so you can see here how the digestive system is basically this hollow tube that goes from the mouth through the esophagus. We have the stomach, which is then connected to the small intestine here. The small intestine, which is not small at all, I think it's about 30 feet long, is then connected to the large intestine, the colon, and then we finally make it to the rectum and then the anus. And we're going to talk about that, all of this, as we go through. So I want you to know that the most important thing that you and I need to know and understand is that digestion begins in the mouth. It is so important that we are chewing our food. I don't know if you know this, maybe this is news to you, but there are actually no teeth in your stomach. None, zero. There's only teeth in your mouth. And I would also like to, on a side note, tell you that they are seed grinders and not meat chompers. That's not what we were designed with. But either way, you have digestive enzymes, and I have digestive enzymes in our saliva. You know, if you were in a factory putting together a car, you would know that there is an assembly line. And there is, you know, say there was 3 parts on this assembly line. If person number 1 did not do the first part and it got to the second person on the assembly line, they would not be able to do their job properly because the first part of the assembly line didn't get put together. The car part didn't get put on there. So person number 2 cannot add the next part to the car because person number 1 didn't fix it on their assembly line. So I think you know where I'm going with this, is that digestion begins in the mouth. We absolutely must chew our food to liquid, which is usually about 30 bites before we swallow. The problem with putting whole foods inside the stomach is that they are wasted. They cause a lot of aggravation inside the stomach, and it burdens the digestive system because it has to use so much more energy to digest that food. So digestion for all carbohydrates, that's everything except proteins, begins in the mouth. That's your fruits, that's your grains, that's your vegetables, that's your nuts, that's your seeds. All of this, the digestion begins in the mouth. So I really want to encourage you that you must absolutely chew your food. So now we've chewed our food, and so beautifully, the food is now going through the esophagus. So incredible. I just, you know, I am a Christian. I don't hide that fact, and I believe we were created. But I want to tell you how amazing it is that when I breathe, my breath goes into my lungs. And when I chew and I swallow, the flap goes right over the lungs so that food doesn't go in there, and it goes directly into the stomach instead. I think that in itself is so amazing. But what happens is there's this word called peristalsis. It is the contraction of muscles through the GI tract, which is very important, especially for bowel movements. But also it's important to move the food down through the esophagus into the stomach. And so basically, each part of your digestive system helps to move this food through your stomach. But what will happen is the muscles behind the food will contract and squeeze the food forward, while the muscles in front begin to relax to allow the food to move. That happens, folks, all by itself. Isn't that amazing? So another thing I just want to point out here is that whether it's your GI tract or whether it's your biceps, every contraction of muscle requires calcium. A good amount of calcium is required for muscle contraction. Muscle formation is protein, but muscle contraction is calcium. So again, I just want to remind you how important it is to eat a diet that is rich in vital nutrients. We want to have food that is not full of empty calories, but nutrient-dense food, and your minerals are so important. It is very difficult to get the calcium out of dairy products, but it's really easy to get calcium out of your green leafy vegetables, your nuts, your seeds, your beans. So in order for food to properly move through that esophagus, because some people do have digestion issues, burning through the esophagus and other issues, it's very important that you are chewing your food, having a good amount of calcium, so those contractions happen properly. So basically what happens is your brain will signal the muscle of the esophagus and peristalsis will begin. When food does reach the end of the esophagus, there's this ring-like muscle, this sphincter that relaxes and opens up and lets food pass into the stomach. So I want you guys to see that and understand that, because there's a lot of people who experience this acid reflux. A lot of the times we have this very weak sphincter at the base of the lower esophagus leading into the stomach. And so unfortunately, the acids will come back up and we will feel that heartburn. And we'll talk more about how we can help that when we talk about diseases next time. But I do want you to know that it's important, again, to have good, strong muscles all over the body, including the GI tract. And as we'll discuss in more detail next week, whenever we have too much stress in the body, we do release cortisol, and that release of cortisol weakens the cells that make strong muscles. And you have a vagus nerve that goes from the brain into the stomach that releases cortisol every time we're stressed out. So that's why I notice that with my clients that are having a lot of digestion issues, before they even tell me what their level of stress is on a scale of 1 to 10, I know it's going to be 8 to, beyond 10, because your stress has a direct impact on your digestive system. So folks, we chewed our food, peristalsis began, the food started going through the esophagus, and now it enters into the stomach. And when the food enters into the stomach, it mixes then with the liquid digestive juices, which are mostly produced by the pancreas, and of course the digestive enzymes that came from the mouth because we chewed our food. And it now turns into this messy ball of liquid called chyme, okay? And I want you to see something here in the stomach. Our stomach was designed to be about 75% full. These small meals people are having and snacks all through the day, believe it or not, mess up the digestive system. Our digestive system was designed to go through a process of stages of digestion. So we want to make sure that your digestive system, when you eat a meal, it's a larger meal. You enter raw in the stomach first because it has it has enzymes in it which help with digestion. So you want a nice layer of raw food, then allow your cooked food to come in and eat a bigger meal so you don't need to snack all through the day. I want to move in now of talking about the role of what some of the other organs have to play. As we talked about it, it's very important, of course, that these quote unquote solid organs, what role do they have to play? Because now my food is in my stomach. The enzymes, of course, are coming through. So your pancreas makes a digestive juice that has enzymes in it that break down carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Then this pancreas delivers the digestive juices to the small intestines through these small little ducts. So I want you to get that, is that digestion begins in the mouth, but the stomach does not have the full role to play in digestion. Once through another sphincter, your food goes from the stomach into the small intestinal tract. That is where the main show happens for digestion. Your stomach's job is through liquid, through these strong stomach acids, to liquefy your food so that it can go inside the intestinal tract, where food in the intestinal tract are now broken down to its molecular state. When I have an apple, that apple has some protein in it, lots of vitamin C, it has fiber, it has antioxidants. There's so many nutrients in there. But my eye and your eye see an apple. your body needs to break that down to its molecular state so your body can take out the vitamin C, package it up, send it to the liver to do its job for the immune system. It needs to take the fiber out. It needs to take the antioxidants, bring it up to your eyes or wherever is needing the antioxidants right now. It can't do that when it's in a large food particle. That's why it has to break it down to its molecular state. But if the stomach has timed out, you've eaten that apple, you bit it, you swallowed, you bit it, you swallowed, you barely chewed it, it gets into the stomach. Those digestive juices cannot break it down to liquid. It needed to be chewed more than that. So now this piece of apple goes into the intestinal tract, and your intestinal tract, assembly line number 3, is like, what are you doing in here? I can't use this whole piece of apple. Guess what? Your organic, expensive apple has to go out with the fiber through the waste and into the toilet. What a waste of all that good food. That happens with your kale, with your spinach, with everything we don't chew. It's literally wasted because your body cannot digest those particles. And as they are going through your intestinal tract, they begin to irritate things because it was too big to be there in the first place. I hope when you leave this session, you are absolutely convinced that you must chew your food. All right. So pancreas making all these digestive juices, which is wonderful. Now, your liver does make a digestive juice called bile, and I'm sure you are well familiar that bile is used to mostly break down fats. This is some vitamins are not water-soluble vitamins, so some vitamins are fatty content, like your vitamin D and other vitamins. So it is very important that we have bile. So your liver produces that bile. It is stored in that small little thing called a gallbladder, which unfortunately some doctors will tell you, you do not need this. It's easy. We'll just take it out of you. It's causing you so much problems. Stop. Yes, you do need that organ. I'm sorry for people that have lost it. Of course, you can function without it, but your digestive system will many times be impeded because of that. But your gallbladder stores this bile, and basically it regulates the bile between meals of how much it squeezes the bile through little bile ducts into the intestinal tract, and it regulates how much you need, when you need it. I mean, it is incredible how our body works. But that gallbladder is storing and holding that bile for your digestive system needs. So you can see how all of this is coming together with your digestive system, and why all of these organs, these solid organs, are extremely important. Now, here's what I want to show you is that food is now going in. This is a beautiful picture. I really love the colors, and I just love how it's showing us. Food is now going into your small intestine. I don't know who named that, your small intestinal tract, because it's like your small intestine is like the largest organ in the body. But your small intestine takes these digestive juices. It also makes some of its own, and it mixes with the bile and all of the juices that have also come from the pancreas, so that it can finish and complete to break down all of your food into the necessary molecules. So your proteins, your fats, your carbohydrates. But here is the key. The bacteria in your small intestine is very important, vitally important, to make the proper enzymes that you need to digest your food. So the bacteria, I don't know if you know this, we had a seminar on the immune system. I don't know if you know this, but 80% of your immune system resides in your intestinal tract. It is incredible. Small little crevices inside your intestinal tract, inside the tissues, the interstitial tissues that you have in your intestinal tract, inside these little flaps are billions of bacteria that help to form the proper antibodies to strengthen and create a strong immune system. Folks, can I tell you something? Most of us are having bloating, gas, and digestion issues because we're missing bacteria. And then we go and buy digestive probiotics to help with that bacteria flora. Well, yes, I prescribe that to my clients too, but the truth is, when we eat properly, when we drink properly, when we sleep properly, when we get enough oxygen, we all produce the right amount of good florobacteria. So it is extremely important that we have good microbiome, all this good flora inside our digestive tract for, yes, our immune system, yes, for digestion, but also for nutrient absorption. It plays such a big role. Even in your bowel formation, if you don't have good probiotics, the poop almost slides right through you and comes out nearly undigested or extremely loose. So it's extremely important that you have a good probiotics happening. And again, we'll talk more next week on what happens if I don't have good probiotics and what issues happen through that if I don't. But also, I want you to know that stress, that cortisol dump that happens through the vagus nerve that we talked about at the beginning of the session, yeah, it kills good bacteria. That's what it does. So also noted here is that water is also absorbed through your small intestinal tract. That is very important. And as we are going into this and speaking on the importance of water, I want you to get something here. In the beginning of digestion, we were chewing our food, and the saliva, which is made up of mostly water, the saliva is mixed with the amylase digestive enzymes in order to begin the first stage of digestion. That food then went down through your esophagus into your stomach through a bunch of contractions, but also water is coming out through your cell lining to help move that down. When it gets into the stomach, gastric juices, which are made up of also water, gastric juices come out to bring that food and turn it into chyme. And then in the intestinal tract, water is used for nutrient absorption to carry nutrients through your blood system to the liver and the other parts of the body. And water absorption also is happening through the lining of the stomach, but the water is necessary for every single function, especially as that food now has to move through the stomach, intestinal tract into the colon to make it to the anus and out into the toilet as stool. You need lots of water to keep this boat moving. Folks, the importance of water is huge for every stage of digestion. In fact, the entire function of the human body, we are made up of about 65% water. And for your brain to give all these signals to the stomach, to the esophagus, to the intestinal tract, your brain is the control center of all of it. It is 75% water. Here's what I want to tell you though. You can't eat and drink at the same time. All of that water was stored in your body and comes through the lining of the cells. When you eat and drink at the same time, you actually dilute those gastric juices. It had enough water in the gastric juices. It didn't need you to add any. It got the water when you drank before you ate. And that chyme begins to turn into its good formation when you start drinking 1 to 2 hours after you eat. It is not a good idea to eat and drink at the same time. And can you imagine that food is turning into chyme? It hasn't left yet because good digestion of a proper meal is going to take anywhere between 4 to 5 hours, sometimes 6, for the food to actually leave the stomach and go fully into the small intestinal tract. okay? But it is extremely important that you don't, after you've eaten 2 hours later, we're not going to throw another snack or throw a glass of juice in there or throw a cup of coffee. Oh no, digestion has to stop and start again. Just water and only water. And now you're sipping on water, helping that chyme go, helping your food to move into the small intestinal tract with just sipping on water. And that water begins to absorb through the lining, getting ready for its next movements, its next processes. But never, ever, ever while you're eating, you never want to drink at the same time. So I want to show you here the way that food being properly digested and gets broken down into particles so that it can enter into the bloodstream. Some are carried through the lymph system, your immune system, others to the liver, some directly into the bloodstream. But what I want to show you through this picture is very important, is that when your food gets broken down into its molecular state, it is now going to go through this nutrient absorption through the intestinal wall. So the particles of food get absorbed out through little ducts, but it can only leave in its molecular state. If whole particles of food leave the intestinal tract and enter into a bloodstream, the body, your body and my body, creates an inflammatory response. And this is where you've heard this, you've probably heard this term of a leaky gut syndrome. What is that and why is that happening? Again, we'll talk more on that next week. But leaky gut syndrome basically means that the holes in your intestinal tract that are only big enough for molecules have somehow increased and are larger in size, and now food particles are leaving before they're broken down. And then when food particles enter the bloodstream, instead of the molecules of the nutrients, vitamins, and minerals, your body says, whoa, there's an intruder. And it puts up an inflammatory response for this strawberry that left the intestinal tract. And now all of a sudden, every time you eat a strawberry, your body's like, intruder, intruder, and you get an allergic reaction. So again, stay tuned for next week and we'll talk more about those things. And how do we get leaky gut syndrome? I'm not telling you. You'll have to come back next week. So the small intestine absorbs most of the nutrients in your food, and your circulatory system passes them on to other parts of your body. So it is very important, guys, to have good, thin, healthy blood. When we have thick blood because our blood is congested, we have a lot of sugar in our blood, we have a lot of toxins in our blood, we have a toxic overload. Can you imagine? Those nutrients are not getting quickly to where they need to be. And we're like, oh, my iron's low, I don't have enough energy. Because nutrients, number one, we're probably not eating enough nutrients, but the few nutrients that we may be eating are not even getting to their proper destination quickly because the blood is so thick. There's so many toxins in the way. There is a traffic jam, just like the 401 if you're here in Toronto. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Carolyn's bloodstream because she ate too much garbage today. That's not a true story. I ate very well today. But I'm just trying to give you an example and understanding. It is very important also that we have a healthy bloodstream in order for your body and my body to actually complete this process. Again, folks, because we're just about to wrap up, I want you to, if you have any questions, I see one in the chat. I'm going to take your chat and your questions shortly. But if you have any, please put them in the chat as we begin to wrap up. So where does this leave our colon and our stool? Well, any large particles of food, which should not be, end up going through the colon because they can't be digested. But also fiber is extremely important because when I'm eating an apple, probably, I don't know the scientific breakdown, but I'm going to say of my apple, it's mostly water and fiber. So if I say, 50% of that apple was fiber, that fiber is so important. It sweeps the colon, it keeps it clean. It's very important that you have a diet that is full of fiber. And if you constantly have to take a fiber supplement, that means your diet doesn't have enough fiber, because you should not need fiber supplements in order to get your bowels moving. But it is very important, because old cells that get broken down through your spleen, our cells die every about 120 days. Those cells live and die for 120 days. They're reproduced, which just shows us again the incredible ability of our body to be able to heal. But what is very important is that we have enough fiber, because that will go with any large particles of food, all of that kale spinach, salad you didn't chew properly out through the colon. But as it goes through the large intestinal tract and out through the colon, that is actually where vitamin K is produced. And vitamin K is very important for blood clotting, it is an incredibly important nutrient, and it's not found a lot in food, but your body will produce it with certain nutrients. But it's where vitamin K happens inside the large intestine. So that is very important for us to know. And also that a great amount of water is needed for your bowels to function properly. Now, the other thing that is important, you can't see it perfectly in this picture, but your anus and your anus and your rectum are not actually lined up. So when you sit down, they're not lined up, and it's very difficult to move stool through a bend. So it is very important. We were designed to squat. That's how we were originally designed. There were no toilets in the Garden of Eden. I'm sure there was poop in the Garden of Eden that smelled like roses, but no toilets. So we were designed as human beings to squat. We're a lot more proper now. We need a seat, we need a throne, a stool, but I would highly recommend that you lift your knees on the toilet if you don't do that already, or you can get a stool or even a garbage can, the garbage can in your bathroom, and just lift your legs so that you're like in the squatting position. Your bowels will move so much better. And I want to show you here also the different types, Bristol stool chart, which I have graciously, thank you for creating this, Mr. Bristol. I did not create this Bristol stool chart, but I just want you to show you, what do your bowels look like? Type 4 is ideal, okay? So you basically want a long brown banana in your toilet. Doesn't float, doesn't sink, it's kind of in between. And if you're having any other kind of stool, especially number 1 or 2, 3 even, there's probably not enough water in your diet, definitely not enough fiber in your diet. When we're starting to get types 5, 6, 7, we're having some major stress issues, and we probably don't have enough probiotics now because of the stress damage. So that's important to know as well. Before I get to this last slide, I just want to emphasize to you that the cell lining of your stomach and your intestinal tract release a lot of hormones to control how your digestive system works. So these hormones actually tell your body when to make the digestive juices, send signals to your brain to say when you're hungry, when you're full. And then your nervous system, of course, stretches all through your GI tract, and they give different signals to your brain. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because everything is connected. That song in kindergarten, the knee bone connected to the elbow bone, and I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. It is absolutely true. But your digestive system, to me, that's always the most important part of any program I'm doing with somebody. Because if you can't digest properly, I can't really fix anything else, since food is your medicine. But it is so important that your hormones are in balance. It's so important that your nervous system is not shot through stress or lots of caffeine. It's so important that we're sleeping because your waste system goes into play while you're sleeping. And it's not going to do that properly if you're digesting all night. So everything has a role to play, but if you are having trouble even knowing when you're hungry, knowing when you're full, you're eating, but I'm not sure, your hormones are probably off because it's your hormones that signal that. But when you can get your body back into balance, you can eat in the rhythm your body was actually designed. You start to hear when you're hungry. You know when you're full. You know when you should drink water. Your body begins to speak to you. Your energy begins to soar because now you're working with your system and not against it. So, I should have flipped that screen. So your hormones and your nerves are incredibly important for the entire function of your digestive system. It's not just food, it's not just digestive juices, it's not just the bile coming from the liver to the gallbladder. Every aspect has a role to play, and your nervous system is so important. I can't emphasize that. There is not a person that I have met, and I've had Energy Shack for 5 years, but I've been doing nutrition a lot longer than that. I've not met a stressed out client that doesn't have digestion issues. And I've not met somebody with major digestive issues that is not stressed out. That's the truth. We're not going to play this testimonial because it is, that's not the testimonial. It's supposed to be a girl talking about her digestive system, but the sound isn't working properly. So next steps, Carolyn, where do I go from here? How can I heal myself? I want to eat better. I'm going to start chewing my food. Awesome. So happy to hear that. If you do want to become a client of mine, we have a couple of nutritionists on staff. I am the main one. You can go to our website, click on consultation videos. It's just right from the front page, and you can fill out that intake form. You can watch our video, The 8 Secrets of Healing, but when you fill out that intake form, I will be in touch with you within 48 hours, and we will set up the consultation, but it is $35, probably the best $35 you have spent. You get a lot of good information. If you end up doing any one of our programs, that $35 is waived for you. If you feel like you would like more one-on-one sessions, you don't necessarily need a nutritional counselor or a meal plan or recipes and all of that, join us as a member. For as little as $10 a month, you get natural remedies, you get recipes that I've personally put together. You also get a free question and answer session with the nutritionist once a month. You can follow us also on any of the social media platforms. And when you go to the website, if you're not already, but I think you probably are, that's why you are here today, join our newsletter because it tells you whenever we're having free seminars like this. And I love to be able to share this information with people. The other thing too is if you do want to eat right and you don't have time, Delectable Dishes by Zarla Jane. She is the personal chef for all of my clients, and I will use no one else because she cooks everything from scratch within the laws of health, no vinegar, no artificial meat, and she has the perfect combination because we work together of the amount of green, yellow, orange vegetables with the right carbohydrates. So if you feel like you need more information on what should my plate look like, how much food should I eat, what shouldn't I eat, when do I eat, you can find that by going to our website, clicking on consultation/videos and watching the 8 Secrets of Health. So that being said, I hope from mouth to stool, that was very informative for you. At this time, I'm just going to go into the chat and I'm going to start answering some questions because there's some great questions in here. And I want to thank everybody also for being with us. We still have a few more minutes, so if you've got other questions, we can. So we have a question. What's the purpose of the pancreas and what causes pancreatic cancer? Ooh, that's a loaded question. There's a lot of purposes of the pancreas. So your pancreas is also creating and regulating your insulin. Your pancreas creates a lot of digestive juices in order, I don't know, Ivis, if you were here right in the beginning, but the pancreas creates a lot of digestive juices in order for food to be digested. And that's why I highly recommend people should be having a good amount of like fruits before their oatmeal, salad before their cooked meal, because your fruits, not cooked and preferably not frozen, have a lot of enzymes in them. So the enzymes aren't killed when they're frozen, they just slow down, but they have a lot of enzymes in them. So that means your pancreas doesn't have to work so hard at putting out a lot of digestive enzymes. So the more you can eat a bit more raw food than cooked food, or always have your raw before you're cooked, you give your pancreas a break. Your big leafy green salad, it's full of enzymes. It's alive, it hasn't been cooked. I do a lot of sprouting. That's full of enzymes. If you're part of our members program, you will learn how to sprout too. But that is full of full of enzymes. So when the raw food goes into the stomach, the pancreas gets a wonderful break. It doesn't have to produce a lot of enzymes. On the other side, you know, if you're eating raw food all the time and then you eat some cooked food, you will find that your body's like a little tired because your pancreas is like, oh, I have to work. So you need to find a good balance between raw and cooked, but I recommend at least 50% of your meal be the raw meal. And what causes the pancreatic cancer? Well, that could be any issues. Understand, folks, that cancer is like alive in all of us. The question is if we're going to feed it or starve it. But most all of us have cancerous cells. And genetics have a role to play as where they are in your body. So I definitely can't tell you what causes pancreatic cancer. Most of the time it's stress. It could be a bad diet. It could be puckered out from years of insulin resistance. There could be a host of issues. But I will tell you that pancreatic cancer, in my experience, has shown to be the most deadly. When you have pancreatic cancer, you're gone very, very quickly. There's some slow cancers. Pancreatic cancer is not one of them. So on that sober note, I hope I answered your questions, Ivis. I am going to move to the next question is how much water 2 hours after eating? That is a great question. So your weight divided, I can't talk in types, so I'm going to try to say this. Your weight divided by 2 divided by 8. Your weight divided by 2 divided by 8 equal to the amount of glasses daily. Okay, I just wanted to put that in the chat for everyone. So your weight divided by 2 divided by 8 is how much water you should drink in a day. So in the morning, I always recommend 2 glasses of water. If you can, make one with lemon and then just another glass of water. So you just got 2 out, okay? Then you eat your breakfast. Of course, you should stop drinking water about 30 minutes before you eat. Then you eat your breakfast, a nice big bowl of fruit, plus maybe some millet grains or oat grains or just a handful of nuts if you want to, whatever. You're gonna wait 1 to 2 hours after eating, and then you probably will end up having 2 or 3 glasses, depending if you're a really big person, maybe 4, between your breakfast and your second, which should be your last meal of the day. So, and it should be room temperature water. So Daniel, I don't know your weight. So depending on your weight, that's how much water you drink through the day. Keeping in mind you had 2 glasses in the morning, the other glasses are through between the 2 meals. And just because 2 hours is expired after you eat, you shouldn't like go. Oh, I've been on water for 2 hours. Not a good idea. Now we're diluting digestive enzymes again, so then we're just sipping water. Swish it around in your mouth before you swallow. Very important. And do we have to sip water? Yeah, so I mean gulps of water. You know, but just, gulps of water is important. And, when you're chewing your food properly, you should be able to have enough juices in your mouth, have enough liquid in your mouth to get the food down. So you guys are incredible. I don't know if I have answered every single question of the digestive system through my seminar, but that is actually the end of our questions. So we have a couple more minutes left. If anybody has any other questions, you can put in the chat, or because now we're in an open forum, you can also just take your mute off if you have any questions. But if you don't have any questions, I'm happy to just wrap it up. Awesome. Ivis, I'm glad I answered your question. Yeah, so I just really want to leave with you folks tonight, and thank you for being on. The importance of digestion. It's key. It's everything. And it takes a lot of energy. So fast, we do have a lot of detox programs here, but even if you just do like a 1-day water fast to just give your digestive system a break, that is very important. I try to do that once a week or once every 2 weeks, just like break from digestion. And chewing your food as best as you can. You're welcome, Peta. Thank you so much for being here. And be intentional about what you eat. Make sure what you are eating is nutrient dense, is not empty calories, is nourishing for your body, because the truth of the matter is I eat very few calories in the day. I just don't eat a lot of calories, but I have so much energy and I'm strong. Go to the gym, I can lift good weights. But that's because the food that I eat is nutrient dense. And when you're having nutrient dense meals, you can give your digestive system a break by not overburdening your system with so much food, so much protein. No, give your body a good amount of nutrient dense meals that leave you feeling full and satisfied for a long period of time. So it is not a starvation diet. And folks, again, I'm seeing a lot of familiar names here, but there are some that I'm not familiar with. So if you have yet to do a consultation, definitely sign up for it. Go to the website, because then I can help you to get your meals in order, to tell you how the rhythm of eating should be. And if you have fallen off the wagon, as some have mentioned here, as one is mentioned here, I recommend, and which can also go back to one of the other questions that was listed here, is a detox necessary before. So going through a 2, 3, and sometimes even a 5-day detox can help to reset you and get you back on track. I own a juice bar, so I watch people say, oh, I'm going to fast again next week, I got off, and they come back a month later, oh, I got off, I'm going to fast again. I want to put the brakes on that. I don't want to sell you another detox. What I want you to do is recognize that you have a bad food relationship, a bad relationship with your food, and let's just help you fix that. So that being said, is that should you detox before? Absolutely. Before you start our program or eating properly on the 8 laws of health, you should start with a detox. But let me just say this. But if you have a lot of medication or health issues, I might recommend you can't start with a detox. Like if you're taking insulin, you might not be able to start with a detox. So there are some times when you aren't going to be able to begin with a detox, but I would be able to do an assessment of your health and be able to recommend that. And another way, if you don't have the money to do a juice fast, another way to kind of reset yourself is to do 1 day of maybe like a water fast, and just do like 2 or 3 days of just raw. Like I'm just gonna eat fruits and vegetables for a couple days, fruits and salad meals for a couple days, maybe some nuts and seeds. Just leave cooked food out of the picture for a couple days and give your system a reset, because then your palate gets cleansed and the sugar and carb cravings go away. So that helps as well. Thank you for those questions. I hope I've answered them properly. I hope I've inspired you to make some changes. Folks, there's nothing more that I feel is such a great blessing than just feeling good and having the energy. It's just nice not to hear your stomach all the time, or feel tired all the time, or have a headache all the time, or bloating all the time. Like, no part of your body should be speaking to you. Your knees shouldn't be hurting, you know. These things shouldn't be happening. And if they are, please let me help you get on track. I'd love that opportunity. So that being said, if there's anything else, if there's nothing else, we can end the seminar. And I'm very grateful for everybody that attended. How much water can be taken with the meal? No water to be taken with the meal. You eat your meal without water. Only start drinking water 1 to 2 hours. 2 is preferred after you eat. So don't have any water with your meals. And if there's soups, they should not be brothy soups. They should be like thick stews. And if you have a brothy soup, you'll have to have that before you even eat your salad, if that makes sense. But soups should be like thick with beans and vegetables and grains, so it's more like a stew. If you are going to have a very brothy soup, that could be like a light dinner in the evening. But yeah, never eating and drinking at the same time. So everybody, thank you very much, and you're welcome for answering all your questions. Thanks for being a part of the seminar tonight. Remember, at 7 o'clock next week, we're going to do it again, and then the following Thursday, we're having our question and answer time with the nutritionist, where all I do, I don't seminar, I just take your questions and answers about nutrition for a full 30 minutes. And you can get on that by joining any one of our subscription programs, which you can find on our website, which starts at just $10 a month. $10 a month. It's really incredible. You get a personal nutritionist, plus recipes, plus natural remedies, and that's the end of that commercial. Okay, guys, have a good night. Chew well. Sip your water after your meals, and get a good night rest. Have a good night, everyone.